Welcome, Grimdark enjoyers. So it seems to be the case that we have a new set of Space Marine detachments to take a look at. Raven Guard and Imperial Fists. So I'm curious to see the details of these two detachments, the Emperor's Shield and the Raven Guard's Shadow Mark Talon. We'll take a look at 8th and Shen and Lysander as well. And I'm just curious to see how they fare relative to what the Salamanders got. Because I was kind of unimpressed by the Salamanders detachment. It felt like same but different, but still same. So we'll see if that's the case here. So starting in with the Shadow Mark Talon detachment. The detachment rule is Masters of Shadow. Each time a range attack targets an Astartes unit from your army, unless the attacking model is within 12 inches, subtract 1 from the hit roll, and the target has the benefits of cover. So, you always have, effectively, the benefits of smoke screen when enemies are more than 12 inches away, which is a pretty good potent defensive passive to just always have. Let's compare this to the Vanguard Spearhead, which has a detachment rule also labeled Shadow Masters, which, yep, it seems to be the same. So at least it's not confusing, changing the rule with different names. That is not the case here. So, in addition to Shadow Masters, in the new Shadow Mark Talon detachment, we have Unparalleled Tactician, which is an 8th and Shan, the new Chapter Master model, a perk for him. So if he's in your army, or if he's in your army and you're using this detachment, you can use one of the stratagems in this detachment for free once per battle. Once per battle round. So that's significant value. Certainly makes him much more of an auto-include. Kind of feels, I don't like that design space. Why not just put that value into his data sheet? So that if I'm a Raven Guard guy and I want to use this detachment, I don't feel like I'm shorting myself for not having 8th and Shan here. That's a little annoying, I think. Minor grievances. Anyways, let's go on to enhancements. Blackwing Shroud. Blackwing Shroud. Astartes infantry model only. While the bearer is leading a unit, they have infiltrators. Okay, that's a good versatile ability for a vast array of units. You could be infiltrating units which have no business infiltrating. Let's see. I have to remind myself of the Vanguard Spearhead tools. We have the Blade-Driven Deep, which is effectively the same thing here. Interesting. Infantry model while the bear's leading a unit, and maybe I can 2-view this, maybe? Do a little bit of a side-by-side. We have the technology, okay. Coronal Serant. Phobos model only, the bearer has the following ability. Lord of Deceit Aura. Each time your opponent targets a unit from your army with a stratagem, if that unit is within 12 inches, increase the cost of that stratagem by 1. Interesting. Yep, and we have that same here in Shadow War Veteran. Why would they not just... It's restricted to Phobo units as well. Why not just name it the same? Why are they renaming these mechanics? Just for confusion? Just for novelty? Anyways, Umbral Raptor. Astartes model only. The bearer has Stealth and Lone Operative, which is the Ghostweave Cloak. And Hunter's Instincts. If the bearer's unit is in Strategic Reserves, you can bring them in 1 round earlier. So, Hunter's Instincts is different than Execute and Redeploy, which was giving units a move, shoot, move, it seems, yeah. So that's a sizable trade-off. Because that seems to me to be a bit worse. Okay, let's see what the stratagems. Armor of Contempt. Armor of Contempt. I don't know if I need the comparison side by side here. We can skip Armor of Contempt, actually. Everyone knows what that does. Lay Low the Tyrants. Fight Phase. For an infantry model, you gain precision, which is a pretty, I wouldn't ever use it as a gotcha, but it is a kind of surprise maneuver. all of a sudden you have a whole squad's worth of guys just going in. going into a character, which is a pretty flavorful utility for a Raven Guard detachment to have. Next we have Feint and Thrust. That movement phase stratagem. Until the end of the turn, your unit is eligible to shoot and declare charge in a turn in which it fell back. If it is Phobos and Scout, it is also eligible to shoot and declare a charge in a turn in which it advanced. Wow, so you had advance and charge on Phobos and Scout squads. That's neat. Haven't really seen that design space just for those special operative type, those specialist squads. And yeah, all Space Marine detachments should have, all elite armies should have a stratagem that allows them to remain unencumbered from falling back. Feels awkward for elites not to, in my opinion. Okay, Stunning Fusilier. It's stunning. It's used on infantry units. And until the end of the phase, each time a model unit makes a ranged attack that targets the enemy unit that is more than 12 inches away. So it's feeding into our detachment rule, asking us to stay far away. Improve the ballistic skill and armor penetration characteristics of the attack by 1. Oh, very good. Very good. If one or more enemy models are destroyed as a result of those attacks, select one of those destroyed models, and they must take a battle shock test. Okay, so you get a little bit of battle shock potential as a little bit of extra sauce, but really, +1 AP is big buku value as an offensive potency booster. You have 2 reactive stratagems. In your Raptorial Vigilance, opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fall back. Used on infantry or mounted units that are within 9 inches of the enemy unit. Your unit can make a normal move up to D6 or 6 inches if it is Phobos or Scout Squad. And Into Darkness. This is the free stratagem that Ethan Shan allows you to use once per battle round. End of your opponent's fight phase, up to 2 Phobos or Scout Squad units from your army, or 1 Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from your army. You cannot target a unit that is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Remove those units from the battlefield and place them in a strategic reserve. So it's uppy downy. So you have free uppy downy courtesy of Ethan Shan. Well, that certainly gives you more maneuverability. And it says you don't have to. He doesn't have to be the target. He just needs to be on the battlefield. So, yeah, he brings a lot of versatility. You'll be especially flexible. Yeah, that's seems pretty on brand for a Raven Guard detachment. Surgical strikes, you get precision in melee, so we have a repeat of that stratagem. Armor of Contempt is Armor of Contempt. Okay, Deadly Prize is replaced, so you don't have the bomb-marked stickied objective. Strike from the Shadows. Your shooting phase, it's the same as the other stratagem for increase to BS and AP, and it even includes the Battle Shock test as well. And you have 2 redeployable, 2 reactive stratagems, and they seem to be more or less the same. Guerrilla Tactics is your uppy downy. Interesting, do we have that restriction there? Oh, the restriction is not there for Into Darkness. So you cannot target an enemy unit that is within engagement range, but you could still pull units away. Whoops. Still pull those units. Yeah, you don't have to be within 3 inches. That's crazy. Okay, a bit more unrestricted for your uppy downy, your Raven Guard shenanigans, your true masters of shadow, it seems. And Calculated Feint is a reactive move, right? But it's used in your opponent's charge phase instead. Oh no, so Calculated Feint is replaced. You have a reactive move when enemy units... rather than a reactive move when they charge, you have now a reactive move just after enemy unit makes it when they move. Okay. Seems pretty fun. Seems more or less the same. It's kind of the same with the Salamanders, honestly. I just don't think the Vanguard Spearhead is as bad as the Firestorm Assault Force detachment. But it's about the same level of change. A few minor tweaks, but the broad strokes are all still there. So let's take a look at Ethan Shan. This is probably the most exciting thing to look at. Because he's a new chapter master, and if I was a Raven Guard guy, boy, I tell you, we'd do some painting live streams of him. Okay, 14-inch move, T4, 3 up 4, plus plus. Okay, fairly reasonable stats, nothing crazy. Heavy bolt pistol, pretty plain weapon for a chapter master, but that's fine. He's got a cool jump pack, and he's got these cool claws. The Claws of Severax. Sustained hits 2 and twin linked. Yeesh. Okay, AP2, 2 damage. That's reasonable for a mastercrafted power weapon. Strength 5 is reasonable also for a mastercrafted power weapon, but the twin linked will certainly make this carry its value. Hitting on 2s, sustained hits 2 on 7 attacks. It's kind of spicy. And Deep Strike, Lone Operative, and Stealth. So he's a bit more defensive with shooting. He can't be shot unless he's within 12. Yeah, he's kind of serving everything I would want him to. Masters of Shadow ability. In your command phase, select one unit from your opponent's army. Until the start of your next command phase, each time an Astartes unit from your army declares a charge while it is within 12 inches of that enemy unit, you can reroll the charge roll. But it must declare that enemy unit as a target of that charge. Okay, if possible. So he gives that a reroll charge. Charge that enemy. And Blackwing Mantle. You can target this model's unit with the Rapid Ingress and Heroic Intervention stratagems for 0 CP. Okay. Even if you've already used the stratagems on different units this phase. Okay, that's an important restriction because units like the Lictor, First Codex problems, don't have this sort of restriction, or this stipulation. So he is coming in dynamic entry style on the enemy movement phase. He can just lone operative, so he can't be touched, or he can't be shot. And then he can rapid heroic intervention and get in the mix of things. He doesn't have fights first, for what it's worth. But that is a pretty good maneuver. I like the dynamic entry potential. Who can he lead? Oh, what's this? At the start of the declare battle formation step, if your army includes Ethan Shan and Caven Shrike, until the end of the battle, your Caven Shrike loses its lone operative ability and replaces its chapter master ability. Replaces its chapter master keyword with captain. Okay, so I guess this is to just circumvent Caven Shrike's data sheet. Why not just make a new data sheet for Caven Shrike? What is the hang-up? Why do we have one data sheet influencing another data sheet? Crazy. And then why does Caven Shrike have to lose Lone Operative if he's not the Chapter Master? Can only the Chapter Master be Lone Operative? I don't like that. I don't like how they're taking the luster off of my boy Caven Shrike. Feels a bit like they're trying to prop up Ethan Shan here as the cool guy in town. Alright, anyways, let's, well, that covers the Raven Guard portion of the video. Tell me what you guys think. I would imagine Raven Guard fans would probably be more or less satisfied with it. There are some improvements. There's some trade-offs with this detachment, but Uppy Downy now being able to circumvent the 3-inch restriction does seem pretty good. And you get a lot of free stratagems between Ethan Shan's own abilities and the detachment ability here also. So I'd be curious what Raven Guard fans think. Anyways, let's move on to the Yellow Fisty Boys. The Emperor's Shield. So the Imperial Fists, like the Salamanders before in the Space Marines Codex, had probably the worst 2 detachments in my estimation. Like Firestorm Assault Forces. I'll say it's worse because I'm a Salamanders fan and I'm personally scorned by it. But the Imperial Fist ones definitely had some obvious problems as well. Right, so we had this old detachment rule here that would focus. It would ask you to remain stationary, which is never an easy ask of a player in a 5-turn game. Like, you only move 5 times. You want me to remain stationary. It's such a tax, right? But in any case, the new detachment seems to be doing something different. So the new detachment's rule is Wrath of Dorn. Each time a model from your army each time a model from your army with the Oath of Moment ability makes an attack that targets your Oath of Moment target, you can reroll a wound roll of 1. Yikes! Okay, before I react to this, let's continue on. And each time a model in a Darnath Lysander unit from your army makes an attack that targets your Oath of Moment target, you can reroll the wound roll. Oh my god, okay, so that's Lysander's free perk. That is interesting. So you're going to have your Oath of Moment units that you're going to be rerolling to hit, rerolling all hit rolls, and if it's a Lysander unit, you're adding 1 to the wound roll and rerolling all wound rolls. So that is dirty. It is just a unit of Terminators, because I'm assuming that's what he can lead. Actually, speaking of leading units, got totally distracted from checking out what Ethan Shen can lead. We'll circle back. But in any case, every unit in your army attacking your Oath of Moment target can reroll wound rolls of 1, +1 to wound with reroll wound rolls of 1. Super good. Well, it is a bit of that first company detachment vibe. Okay, so let's just check Ethan Shen real quick. What can he lead? Where's the leaders? Where do they specify leaders? Oh, I guess he can't. Ew. I guess he's not a leader. Interesting. He is a solo independent character, it seems. Perhaps that's why they modified Shrike. Now I want to now I want to verify Shrike. Bear with me here. Okay, let's change this to Raven Guard. And find my boy Caveman Shrike. So he has Lone Operative, he'll lose that. And his Shadow Master ability, he'll also lose that, correct? If your army includes Ethan Shen and Caveman Shrike until the end of the battle, your Caveman Shrike loses its Lone Operative ability and replaces its Chapter Master keyword with Captain. Okay, so he can't be a Lone Op Specialist because I guess Ethan Shen must be the Lone Op cool guy Chapter Master, and Caveman Shrike can still use his Shadow Master ability to essentially have Lone Operative while leading his cool squad. Okay. I'm not too perturbed by that. And then I guess if you're not using Ethan Shen, Caveman Shrike can still be the hero, so I guess that is one way to do it. Okay. Let's return to the fists. So, back-end tools. I mean, already this has way more efficacy than the Anvil Siege Forest. All your weapons gain heavy. And then if you remain stationary, you have +1 to wound. If you are using heavy weapons that didn't gain heavy from that ability. I believe that's how that... Whoops. Get out of here. Get out of here, ads. Okay, so... yeah, I had that ability right. So, way lower barrier to... a lower barrier to yield in terms of garnering the value of this detachment. Because you're just going to be more efficient. Shoot your Oath of Moment target. That's what it becomes. Very nuts and bolts. Very... in that way, it's kind of Imperial Fist. It's fairly thematic. I think it's a bit more of a Flanderization of the Imperial Fist themes, really. I think the Imperial Fist should be characterized as, like, controlling the board and setting up defensive strong points. I would prefer a detachment rule that characterizes them that way. But this is at least They're gonna be better Space Marines, right? Which is on brand with regards to their bolter discipline and all of that. Okay, so enhancements, Champion of the Feast. Astartes model, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons, and once per battle, at the start of any phase, the bearer can use this enhancement if it... this sounds very First Company Task Force. If it does, until the end of the phase, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of melee weapons equipped by other models in the bearer's unit. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's exactly the enhancement from the First Company Task Force. Disciple of Rhetoricus. Rhetoricus sounds made up. What is that? I don't know if it's old lore, so I'm gonna laugh at it anyways. That's funny. Rhetoricus. It doesn't sound real. Okay, Terminator model only. Improve the objective control characteristic of the bearer by 1, and once per battle. Add 1 to the OC characteristic of other models in the... Yeah, that's... Oh my god, they've transposed them here, it seems. The first time the bearer is destroyed, roll 1d6 at the end of the phase on a 2-up to the bearer back up. Okay, that's a very good enhancement. And flat 3 wounds remaining, which is nice. Terminators only, and Maldoraxian Standard. Oh, nice! Something for an Ancient. Love it. Each time an attack targets the bearer's unit, the strength characteristic of the attack is greater than the toughness. Okay. A conditional -1 to wound. Fairly decent defensive perk. You can put on a big block of boys. Or Blade Guard. That might be nice. So we have some repeated enhancements, I believe. Fleet Commander, yeah, stupid Mortal Wound Bomb is not there because it's mechanically stupid. Indomitable Fury, I get back up. It used to be at full wounds, now it's on 3, and it used to be Gravis, and now it is Terminator, which is interesting. Let me go to the right tab here. Architect of War ignores cover while leading, so that's gone. And Stoic Defender, the Feel No Pain and Stronger OC. Also gone. Gone in lieu of First Company Task Force enhancements, right? Imperium Sword, there it is. Add 1 to the bearer's melee weapons and once per battle. Add that perk to everyone in the unit as well. And here it is again, Rights of War. Was Terminator model only in the First Company Task Force, but... Jumping over here... Oh, it's still Terminator model only. The Disciple of Rhetoricus. Okay, let's carry on. Odd choice. To reincorporate those enhancements here, rather than... I mean, they're not unthematic. Just wouldn't have expected it. Wouldn't have been on the detachment revision bingo card, if you will. Alright, Fury of the First. Okay, hold on. Isn't Fury of the First here? No, it's not. Okay. Interesting. Fury of the First... It might be an ability on the Terminators themselves, is probably what I'm thinking of. But Fury the First characterizes it for Terminators and Veterans. Yep. Until the end of the phase, add 1 to the hit roll. If you use below starting strength, add 1 to the wound roll as well. Alright, so +1 to hit and +1 to wound if you're below starting strength. You already have +1 to wound from Oaths of Moment, but I guess this gives you versatility. It is very conditional anyways. Oh, you spend a CP, and if you're below starting strength, you add 1 to the wound roll. Okay, this is a serviceable condition. Probably the best version of these breakpoints, I think, that we've seen. Because being below half strength is too much of an ask. But to pay 1 CP for +1 to hit, and then if you're below starting strength, +1 to wound as well, that's not bad. That's not bad. Obdurate Vengeance. Fight phase, just after enemy unit has selected its targets. Again, for Terminators, Veterans, and Vanguard Veterans. Fight on death? Yes. Fight on death on a 3+. For 1 CP on a 3+. Fight on death is a super potent exception. Normally I don't like paying a CP for the chance of doing nothing. But Fight on Death is one of those so good of an exceptions because it's a you go, I go. It's not alternating activations, right? So sometimes, by all accounts, the enemy got the jump on you. You should die. And so being able to Fight on Death is a big exception. Okay, your movement phase, Wrathful Conquerors. Your Terminators and Veterans again. That objective marker remains under your control. Even if you have no models. Yeah, okay. Until your opponent controls it at the start or end of any phase. Okay. That's the wording I prefer. Sticky objectives for your elite army. Disciplined Extermination, your shooting phase. 1 adepties that start as Terminator, Blade Guard Veteran, and Stern Guard. Yeah, it's all Terminators and Veterans. This is for your shooting phase. You ignore cover and improve AP by 1. Oh, that's super good. Oh, that's really good. That's choice. Double dip. Ignore cover and AP +1. It's not bad. It's a desirable tool. Dropship Extraction is your 1 reactive stratagem. End of your opponent's fight phase. A Terminator unit can go uppy down here. Alright, well, that is the Imperial Fist Detachment. So you have a major change on the army rules side, which will just make them more effective. It does kind of suck. Okay, hear me out, right? Part of me just hates this detachment in that it feels like this is the case where Darnith Lysander, a new Terminator model, has come out and now they're shoehorning this Imperial Fist Detachment as the Terminator detachment. And it's kind of lame that I don't know, if I was an Imperial Fists guy and I was looking forward to finally getting my boys in yellow on the table and flexing their might as prototypical Astartes, as Angels of Death, right? I'd feel kind of annoyed that I have all of these Terminator and veteran locked stratagems. Personally, like, why not? If they want to redo the First Company Task Force, redo the First Company Task Force. And sure, maybe Lysander has like really good synergy because he's a Terminator, whatever. Yeah, kind of lame in that respect, if you ask me. Oh, but I guess we should take a look at Lysander. I don't know if anything's changed. 7 wounds is a lot, but I feel like he always had 7 wounds. He's always been like a tough guy. Fist of Dorn, 5 attacks, Hey on 2s from 10, AP 3/3. That is what you want from a Thunderhammer, I tell you. The Strength 8, AP 2, 2 damage is so terrible for a standard profile for a Thunderhammer. It feels very intentional on GW's part, just because they need to subvert. They need to flip what is the desirable War Gear option, edition to edition. I feel like that's the case for our Thunderhammers, because they were pretty much the go-to for 8th and 9th. Let's change this to Imperial Fists. I should probably keep them all available. Save myself the trouble. I just want to check out what Lysander was. If he's more or less the same, or what. Oh, get out of here, ads. Yeah, profile is the same. -1 to wound. Conditional -1 to wound from, and he had a 2 up invulnerable save once per battle. Let's jump back over. So, again, conditional -1 to wound. And once per battle, 2 up invulnerable save for a phase. Both of which serve just defense. This guy does not want to move. He wants to, you shall not pass everybody. Attached to Terminator squads. Okay, I think he's more or less unchanged. He's just looking kind of nice in his new model. Alright guys, well, that was the detachment review, I guess. As I tend to do, things went on a bit longer than I expected, but alas, here we are. Let me know what you think of these two detachments. If you're a Raven Guard fan or Imperial Fist fan, are you excited by these new acquisitions? I'd be curious to know. Actually, at the start of this video, I posed a question. Will these detachments be more or less the same as the Salamanders? And I think it's safe to say, after looking at these two detachments, the Salamanders definitely have the short end of the stick with regards to these detachment rule refreshes for our chapters. So far, they're on the bottom spot, I think. Well, that's a wrap on this one. If you enjoyed this video, there are buttons for liking, sharing, and subscribing. Thanks for watching, and a special thanks to Julius Maximus, as well as my other generous patrons and channel members. Patrons and channel members get early access to regular channel videos, as well as free access to various STL doodads. Just a little something for those who help keep the dream alive. Anyways, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.